All right. What's up, What's up, everybody? Today I'm going to be discussing Gen Z and kind of their general economic and their kind of mindset. That way, people can really understand what's going on through what's going on with them as a generation. You get a lot of boomers, you get a lot of older generation. They always seem to complain about Gen Z. They're not participating in the workforce. They're not working hard enough. They're not working overtime. They just come in to do their job, get out. They're considered uninterested by a lot, and they're considered just as bad workers in general, which is I believe is just it comes from a nonsense point of view that most people really can't comprehend yet. But I'll kind of go over it so people really do understand what is going on with Gen Z and why they're really not willing to participate in this workforce. So first of all, we are going to be using Grok here as our guide. We're not going to be. Grok is really good for data, and it's I mean most general AIs are pretty good for data. But I'm using Grok just because I have it. It's convenient. We can go over it. My Twitter here. I don't have anything on my Twitter except just kind of a small breakdown tweet about kind of the whole situation and just my take on the big beautiful bill, which I'm very conflated on it. I still don't know if it is the best thing that can happen, but this kind of breaks down the control of what how that money is consolidated between the three companies between you know you got the uh what is it? State you got BlackRock, and you got Vanguard. I think those are the three. So they're essentially they invest into each other, they control each other, and in return they control up to 30% together of pretty much every major company in the world. It's essentially a stealth monopoly, and I kind of go over that and that, but that's a different topic, different discussion, at a different time. All right, so let's go ahead and get into our topic of discussion, which is go with Grok. And let's go ask him if I am average Gen Z early into my work age. What is my income? That's a very important question. Pre-taxes, because that's gonna be also our baseline. That way we understand what's going on and we understand what mentality they're in. Um, yes, pre just average. I want just my average yearly. I want my average monthly if I am Gen Z between 18 to 25 is usually what they calculate to be Gen Z, and that'll give us kind of a baseline for our yearly income. So our yearly income is essentially about $3,500, $36,000 essentially per year, and monthly we make almost $3,000 per month. It's seems like quite a bit if you really think about it, but it's really not a lot. So let's go ahead and go over a few things that kind of takes this number down to absolute zero and pretty much makes everyone in this age bracket essentially unable to afford upward mobility. And I'll explain it to you. So first of all, what is our first thing that's going to get deducted? Well, we got our FICA, we got our taxes, we got our federal income taxes, we got that side of things is going to get automatically pulled out. So let's go ahead and Medicare. Obviously, that's all going to be pulled out in our first um, taxes. Also, let's pretend I own a vehicle, but I do pay my insurance on it, and I do have to pay my registration. So will you add federal registration fees and everything like that into our federal taxes? So let's do our federal taxes. Deduct federal federal taxes. Medicare. Make sure vehicle. So it's going to go ahead and calculate, go into all of our federal taxes, all of our federal fees, everything that we have to pay for annually, our vehicle registration fees, and you're going to go ahead and withdraw and it'll deduct that from the total amount we got, and it'll break it down for us. So it'll go over how much the federal, how much IRS, they'll use averages for IRS data and everything like that, the FICA taxes, Medicare, everything, registration fees. So it'll calculate that into it, and it'll subtract it from our annual yearly income. And yeah, it's gonna essentially subtract. We'll go over it. There's somebody here. Give me 1 second. I'll be right back. All right. Go ahead and just do it for, let's go with the average. Let's pretend I'm from, what's a good like midtown? Let's go Kansas. Right? No, Kansas is in middle. Kansas is out there by itself a little. Let's go kind of a well-known state, but not too big. Let's go with we don't want to go coastal. We can. It doesn't matter what kind of state we go with. Go with New Mexico. No, New Mexico has a lot of native land. That complicates things. Go Nebraska. Ah, I don't want to do California. Let's do Arizona. Let's just do Arizona. Just because I'm from Arizona, and we'll just apply from perspective. Looks like Arizona, you're gonna be a pure example. If you're a Gen Z, Arizona, this video is about you. You make between $35,000 pre-tax income. It's gonna explain to you why you're in a messed up situation financially and why you're kind of stuck in it and why you seem to always cannot afford your bills and you end up going under month after month after month, even though you think you're doing everything right. So essentially gross annual income is going to go into break down your federal taxes and everything like that step by step. It'll go into your Medicare fees, it'll go into your vehicle registration fees, your annual deductions and everything like that. So the final answer in Arizona, if you have federal your federal, you end up with $3,000. 30,000 to 81. I don't know. We'll go from there. $30,000 pretty much essentially what you got left. Um plus a little change. Used car around 50,000, $15,000 car. Okay, so what's my remaining balance? And it's going to go ahead and deduct also the income tax and everything like that, right? So I have 3,000, $30,000 remaining, 2,500 remaining monthly. Let's go ahead and go into our next breakdown. Did you? I think it went into state fees. You subtract the state taxes, and did you subtract all the fees that are state fees? Calculated net, federal, Arizona. we're gonna go ahead and get into our next step here. With the next thing is this is just our paycheck um after taxes. I haven't received my check. This is already deducted, so it went from $35,000. And then let's go ahead and subtract our rent. Subtract four and I made it like that is because AI will understand what I mean by medium city, meaning it's a medium-sized city and it's not a large city, it's not a small city. So it'll calculate kind of like cities like Mesa, exactly like Glendale, that aren't Phoenix and aren't like Scottsdale. So it'll kind of go in lower end where their apartment is usually $950 a month, around there, which is very it's close to there. So you can get not apartments. Most apartments are like 1,300 to 1,600 in Arizona, for example. But a lot of the you can get into like a room renting a room from a house for like 950. So that pretty much takes out $1,000 there, leaving us with $18,000 remaining um per year, with only 1,500 remaining. It's gonna go over the rent estimate, state fees, and everything like that. Let's go ahead and add the next important thing because we got our apartment. Let's go ahead and calculate food, and also add the cost of sales taxes because that's another thing that adds to our grocery bills and everything like that is sales tax. Our sales taxes are getting almost to 10% of our purchasing power, the money that we already got taxed on $5,000 from already in order to for state and federal taxes. We now have to in return pay sales taxes with the same dollar bill. So it's almost a double dip, triple dip, quadruple dip, whatever you want to call it. It is another way they dip into our income. The low cost is about $340 a month is what you'll use dining out $1,000 as your almost a $400 per month grocery bill. You got prepared. So rent deducted, annual food cost is another $5,000 almost. And essentially, with all the deductions and everything like that, you have $8,000 remaining on your budget, which is a huge, huge decrease because monthly you're spending. This is calculating kind of going into one bedroom. Food costs about $300, almost $400 a month, and sales tax, which is another four. So you're already down to $8,000 or $678 per month. That's without covering any expenses. That's if you have a vehicle that's paid off, if you have everything. We haven't even gone into, well, I have food. I also need to clothe myself, right? Oh, was that need clothes and cleaning stuff, basic household necessities. Let's add basic household necessities as another clarification of our costs. Let's go ahead and add that into our calculation and see what we have remaining. Cleaning supplies, housing necessities, they pretty much deduct you down to $4,000 remaining. Now, you're also federally required to have a car insurance. You cannot drive on a federal road without being insured. And if you do drive without it, you are under punishment if you do get caught with it of possibly going to jail or facing financial fees. If that happens, for example, how much do I have to pay for an average vehicle monthly for my vehicle insurance? So let's go ahead and look what into insurance costs are, which is usually about another 200 months, $200 a month. And after just covering our vehicle with pretty much getting minimum food to cook and eat, basic necessities, we are down to a monthly balance of $142. That is not covering everything yet. Right? Did we cover our food? I think we did, right? Let's break down what we covered so far. Let's do a tally. Let's get our break down our costs and so that we know what's going on, where we're at. Yeah, we did do food, we did do clothing, did cleaning supplies, we did basic vehicle insurance, right? And we're down to $140. I believe we are missing something. That's the funny thing. It's already ridiculously low on how low that is. Because if you have a medical emergency, this is with a Medicare. So I guess this is with you covering your Medicare at worst case scenario. But $142 is what you have remaining. But I know we're missing something. I know we're missing something. I gotta ask what are we missing? I gotta figure it out. I know I'm missing something here, and something obvious. I'm pretty sure. Oh yeah, we're missing fuel maintenance for a vehicle. Even though we do have a free vehicle, we do have to maintain it. We are missing phone bill. We are missing healthcare cost, uh, and work related. Uh, yeah, that's what we're missing. So I think it's adding it in for us actually. Transportation and fuel maintenance, which is another $114 a month. Health insurance, medical. Uh, oh yeah, because Medicare tax isn't Medicare. You don't have Medicare. Yeah, you have to pay for medical insurance, which is a huge amount of $379 a month. You got phone bill, another $43 a month. You got personal care products. You got renter's insurance. You got work related expenses with sales tax. So essentially, after you break down your typical tally of your costs that are considered necessities, you are calculated as Gen Z to essentially be at losing $426 a month if you're making the average salary, which is why they're shifting to a gig economy. Because for them, their time and money does not make sense. If they spend working at $17 an hour, they have so many expenses. Most of them have car payments that are like $600 a month because they are absolutely getting massacred by these sales companies, by these dealerships, to where they're forced into these contracts because it's too expensive for them to really drive a beater. Because one, the parts for those cars is becoming more and more rare, and the newer cars you can't work on them as well. They require a lot more time. They require a lot more skill because they've become so over engineered as vehicles. Even your cheapest products is now costing $30,000. So they're forced into these extremely high costs and everything like that. And this is essentially what their breakdown is like. Now let's go ahead and go into something else that needs to be covered into. So after all these costs, right? You got the phone bill, you got the vehicle, housing necessities. This doesn't make sense for me. If I was Gen Z, I wouldn't work for a job unless it was paying me significantly higher. Because if I'm going to be in debt, if I'm working and I'm making $35,000, for example, as Gen Z, and I'm losing $400 a month, essentially, I don't qualify for any major government help because of my income, right? So let's see. Spiders everywhere, man. All right. Anyway, yeah, I know what the Medicare deduction. So I don't qualify for food stamps. I don't qualify for SNAP. I don't qualify for anything. So my deficit remains. Um, compare that to most. Make similar graphs. So check this out. Make similar graphs for different age go millennials, because millennials, this is what millennials realized, right? This is why kind of millennials checked out. But luckily for millennials, a lot of them actually got a life raft in something called Bitcoin and the rise of cryptocurrencies, because a lot of millennials were heavily invested, and a lot of millennials gained a lot of vast amount of wealth because of that boom, and it essentially was like a life raft to a lot of that generation, to where they aren't as mad about current taxation system. I mean, we know they are, but they're not as burdened anymore because they had that disposable income, to where now they could actually be in the game a little bit and commit a little bit of their income, to where now they can buy property and everything like that. So it no longer bothers them as much as a whole. And for now. That's the situation is for now, because I'm going to explain something at the end that I think is kind of the long-term plan of major companies, and how, a lot of people say right now, BlackRock and State, whatever State, and what's the other one, Vanguard, right? They're like, oh, they only 10% of the housing market. It's not a big deal. I'll explain to you why it is a big deal and what the game plan is. But right now, we're going to go ahead and compare it between the age groups. It'll have all the data about how their thing is. I think the Gen Z, their income, no Medicare, essentially they are at a negative a month, negative income. Millennials, they have a higher income, slightly higher income, or anything like that. But wow, they had a actually huge boost. As how did they gain so much income all of a sudden? Because they actually gain a lot. Boomers, it's essentially as you get older, right? Essentially, it's like the same thing. As you get older, you're gonna gain more. But it's not the point. It's about I don't know how to explain it. There's so much more to it. All right, let's see. I think it's creating it's coding in Python, a bar graph. That's kind of cool. So yeah, Gen Z is essentially the only one at a vast deficit. And people are like, why don't they want to work? It's because if they're earning average, they are literally paying the government to have all these programs open. All of their income goes to it. They're like, well, the higher classes and the higher age groups they pay more taxes. No, because they have higher enough income to where they can afford it. Millennials, I mean Gen Z, they can't. I want to say that millennials is slightly boosted because of the tech economic boost with, like I said, Bitcoin, Facebook, all these kind of companies that they got into essentially boomed at the right time, and it's because it is their generation. That's kind of how typically things end up. How economics work. But the problem is, if we do a comparison at the time of each age group growing up, so that's where the difference becomes. For example, now compare each age group around the time they were 18, 25. So if they compare each age group, for example, if they compare boomers and what their economy was like, their life living expenses, their taxes and everything like that, what people will realize is those taxes did not exist. Those burdens, those 20%, those 3 to 7%, everything, those expenses didn't exist. So they were never at a negative, and that's why a lot of boomers and a lot of Gen Z kids they have to pretty much be paid by their parents because they can no longer they can't afford their jobs can't afford them to even survive, and those without parents they're kind of messed up. They're gonna be they got to work a lot harder. Let's put it that way. Gen Z total deduction. Oh my goodness. Okay, hold up. I gotta stop this because I gave up.